Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to the witnesses for being here. Ms. Evans, well, first of all, I appreciate we're in a non-classified situation, so you'll obviously tell me if you can't answer my questions. But do you know how many cyber attacks the electric grid sustains on a regular day, average day?
So DOE continuously monitors across multiple things. So it depends on how we talk about a cyber attack. And so we are in constant communications with the ISACs, and we constantly monitor what is happening in the state of the sector as a whole. So beyond that, I'm happy to come back in a more appropriate setting to give you more details if you'd like.
Well, you didn't tell me a number. Do you know the number yourself?
That's why I said it depends on how
you define the attack.
Yes, and how you want to quantify.
Are you able to determine how much of that activity is coming from state actors?
So again, I would be happy to talk about that more, but yeah, the way that we are designing the systems.
I'm not asking you to tell me if it's coming from, are you able, do you know whether it's coming from state actors? Is that something you don't want to answer here?
I would like to answer that in a more appropriate setting.
Let me move on then to something else. Maybe Mr. Robb, to follow up with a question that the chairman asked of Ms. Evans about what needs to be done now from Congress. It's my observation that we rely heavily on the utilities, private companies, to deal with this. And when they came to speak to us last Congress, they suggested that the thing that they needed most to modernize the grid, not just related to security, but to modernize it, was research support from Congress, that they wanted to be sort of left to their own to be able to innovate, which I think is generally appropriate. How comfortable do you feel that individual utilities are able to handle these attacks? And is there anything that you think, to follow on with Mr. Rush's question, that Congress should be doing to back that up in terms of security?
I'm not sure I caught the entire question with the door closing, but
okay.
The point I would make in response to Chairman Rush's question is that the biggest issue for us is that for NERC, we're sort of threat actors or so forth is of less interest to us than what is of interest are the attack vectors and so forth. The most important thing from our perspective would be for government to be able to more rapidly declassify information to get it into actionable insights that we can get out to industry. Industry doesn't need to know the origin. We don't need to know the sources. Right. We just need to know the what's. And I think, unfortunately, right now, the what's and the who's are intricately tied up, and so that kind of clogs the machinery up. That would be the most important thing that I would see government being able to do that would facilitate better information sharing and better awareness out in industry, would be rapid declassification and or broader availability of security clearances for folks to participate in those conversations.
Real-time ability to share information on an ongoing attack kind of thing?
Absolutely.
Right. What should be the responsibility, the legal liability for utilities fending off these attacks? So suppose something gets through because of the weakness of a particular utility. What incentives do we have to make sure that they're carrying their weight?
Well, I'm probably not the best expert to talk about legal liability. What I would say, though, in response to the question is that every CEO I know of, and this goes from the largest IOUs to the smallest public powers, take this threat enormously seriously. So right now, I think they all do everything that makes sense for them in their sector, in their situation to protect against these attacks.
It's just my observation that unless, I appreciate that. I think it's probably something that every CEO wants to avoid. But unless there's a bottom line impact, sometimes it doesn't filter through the culture of the entire company. And I think I like the way that we rely on private innovators to deal with these problems. I think often they're better situated than the government. But on the other hand, we have to provide those incentives through the private industry to make sure that they do emphasize this as a business matter. And I guess my time's expired. We'll have to continue that conversation later. But thank you again for being here.